Okay, another Blind Reacts. Once again, shout out to Nick Luck 3720 for the recommendation on River Phoenix. This interview, I think, was probably circa 1988, simply because he's in the interview with his co-star and former lover, romantic partner, Martha Plimpton. Plimpton, I hope I said that right. And I think she was the one. I think when he started I think the story is when he started to become a really heavy abuser in terms of drug use, she broke off the relationship. And so here we go, kind of looking at those two kind of in an interview together.
New film Running on Empty. River Phoenix plays a 17-year-old with some very special problems, and Martha Plimpton plays the girl he loves. And good morning to both of you.
Morning.
The studio will be very pleased with Jane that she didn't right off the top call this a 60s movie. In fact, you play an 80s teenager with 60s parents. You've been in the movie running your whole life since you were 2 years old from the law. You're going to have to explain that circumstance.
Well, it all started with two people's convictions and their beliefs and how they wanted to act upon those. And I guess they later find that it affects, more than just them. And the kids are somewhat imprisoned by their act, and they're living underground for a few years now. And
many years, I guess about 15 years, your parents bombed a napalm factory, as the story goes, and a janitor was maimed in the explosion, and now they're running from the feds. Meaning every couple years or faster than that, you have to spontaneously uproot yourself, take on new identities, and start again.
Sometimes it's, every other month or so. I mean, it's something that is very spontaneous.
Yet this is a very tight family. Explain to me why a 17-year-old in this circumstance doesn't hate his parents for doing this to him.
Well, he doesn't hate him because they've been very honest about their reasons for doing so. And, there is definitely some bitterness that's inside that he does not release because it would cause too much friction, amongst the family members, and it's the last thing they need. But I don't think he hates them all that much. I think he understands, but
I don't think he hates them either. I didn't see it. Martha Plimpton, however, you play a girl with perfect parents. Dad's this terrific music teacher at the school and live in that great house, and you are just the epitome of the ungrateful teenage daughter.
Yeah, it could be perceived that way, I suppose.
You're not a bad girl.
No.
You're a nice girl. You're just kind of a tough teenager to live with.
Yeah, I guess the main motivation behind her bitterness towards her parents and why she seemingly treats them so badly is it's.
That's crazy. That was crazy. I mean, like, just the sudden turn and the sudden movements. But that's who he is. Like, the sudden turn and the sudden movements, that's where his humor is. That's where his personality is. And I think it's kind of like saying, get the heat off of me and let's put the heat on somebody else. Like, how would you feel if all of these cameras and these lights were on you? Let's see how you deal with it. It's just these sort of nonverbal signals.
Because of their complete lack of motivation towards any sort of passionate lifestyle, towards any convictions of any kind, and she's maturing very quickly and growing out of that very sheltered way of life.
So you feel, your character feels a little trapped too.
Exactly.
By this circumstance. Why don't we play a clip now from Running on Empty?
She can handle, at least in this instance, the media better than River can, and he needs the support from her to handle the media better, because he struggles with handling the media, and that he doesn't want to handle the media. But what Martha just did was she was really good at that interaction, very mature, and she did very well. Again, there's nothing wrong with either of the two. I'm not saying that she's better than him, but I'm saying that she handled that interaction. And I'm noting that he struggles with these interviews, maybe because he just doesn't want to do them.
If we could, and then we'll talk about some real life.
My name isn't Michael. It's Danny. My parents are Arthur and Annie Pope. They're in trouble with the FBI for blowing up a napalm laboratory in 1971. There was a man who was almost killed, a janitor who wasn't supposed to be there. We put Sam on the birthday cakes, on all the birthday cakes, because we change our names every time we move. I've been doing this since I was 2. And I wanted to tell you why I couldn't be with you. Not without your knowing. I didn't want to lie to you. Now, I have no right in telling this to you. It's dangerous for you, and it's dangerous for them. I'm sorry, I just couldn't stop myself.
River Phoenix, you came by an unusual name because your parents were as
They're copying each other and that they're moving their hair out of their way almost at the same time.
I've understood it, flower children from the 60s, not political activists. And I've always avoided talking to you about it because it was almost a cliche. But here you've got this movie where suddenly your unconventional upbringing might have some real relevance. Did you bring something to this movie that an average young actor would not have in real life?
Well, in my family, throughout the years, we've been moving frequently, whether it be for financial reasons or for different movies that we were working on. So I've been very used to that spontaneous, let's pick it up and move on kind of thing. And I guess I could relate with Danny in that way. And in a way too, going from character to character and changing names and roles, it's kind of similar to the way Danny has to change himself when he goes from town to town.
Fascinating story there. And you,
this is what I want to say. I meant to say this like 2 videos ago, but this is what I want to say. A lot of times he connects with his characters in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know if the director is really good at casting to put him in a role to where he will identify most with, but they're good at doing that. I remember, so I was kind of looking at a synopsis a little bit about him playing Chris Chambers in Stand By Me, and the Stand By Me was in '86, and of course this is in '88. But again, we hear him talking about identifying with the character. But when he's talking about Stand By Me, apparently Chris Chambers was a sensitive, intelligent, mature young man from a troubled family. Now, what River doesn't like to do is he doesn't like to say his family is troubled, but he does like to mention instances very subtly to where there's trouble within the family. Again, going back to the synopsis, Chris is perceived as a delinquent by the community, but his close friends know him as a caring and insightful young man. He forms a strong bond with Gordy, played by Will Wheaton, offering support and encouragement, especially as Gordy grapples with grief and self-doubt. Phoenix's portrayal of Chris brings depth and empathy, highlighting the character's internal struggle between his aspirations and the limitations placed on him by his background. His role as the group's protector and moral center makes Chris an unforgettable figure in the film. And so River said that he really identified, he said, and it's crazy because he said, I think somewhere in an interview or something like that, he said, man, if I didn't have a family to go back to, I would have needed a psychiatrist after playing that role. And that was an interesting thing to say, that first of all, he's highlighting the need for support. Again, here he needs support. He's showing the need for support with another co-star to kind of show him the ropes professionally, because he's like, man, I'm out here swimming. I really don't know what to do. And so I think that is consistent. And so he finds sort of connections with multiple characters that he plays in a way that really describe who he is.
Daughter of Keith Carradine, comes from a several generation acting family. Is this you consider yourself a newcomer to acting?
Well, yeah. In a way, I suppose I do. I consider myself a newcomer to basically everything at this point. So, acting, I guess, is in there. I'm not a veteran, and I certainly don't have a lifetime experience. I'm brand new. I'm 17.
Well, not a bad way to start. She is doing okay. River Phoenix, good to see you again.
You too.
And Martha Plimpton will be seeing more of you, I should think.
Thanks.
And we'll.
This is an instance to where I would say that art imitates life a lot of times. River is playing these roles because it is the art imitate, and he's able to use his life to sort of, oh, that was my phone, to sort of express through art and say, this is an artistic expression of how I truly feel. And I think that that's how he expresses himself. Very similar, right, to Kurt Cobain, who expresses himself through poetry and through some of his readings that he's done. If you go back and look at some of the previous interviews that I've covered on him. So he's telling his story through the art that he portrays. And so this has never been a job for him. It's always been sort of like a real portrayal for him that he can get into. And the crazy thing is that he wants so bad for people to understand that about him. But the unfortunate thing a lot of times that happens in these cases is that people think it's just a role, and they assume that he's going to have a long career. He's going to have longevity in this space, which Martha did, apparently, a little bit of longevity, because I remember seeing her on some movies, more so growing up. But I think for him, it was more of a cry for, can you guys please pay attention to me? And I think Martha at her age was unable to deal with that. And she didn't have the emotional capacity, neither should she have, to deal with that. And so she kind of broke it off. But I think he was in a place where he really needed that support. So that's the video. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, engage. Let me know what you think. You're on your own of this, and even some of you who are closer to this story, like to hear your feedback on it and whatnot. And remember, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just, reacting to what I can see. But I appreciate your interactions, your views, and until next time, until next video, take it easy.